Imagine you have taken part into the crucial cake making competition, and at the end of the competition you realized that you misread the recipe. The cake is not what you expected, or you have added the content in the wrong order. It would be a disaster. And in clinical research project, just like baking a cake, if you don't know the recipe or if you add the contents wrong, it will be a disaster. Today we are going to understand what the recipe of clinical trial is, that is source documents. We'll understand the meaning and examples of source documents. Then we'll understand the SDV and SDR. Are you confused about the difference between SDV and SDR? Make sure you follow till the end, because we'll break down into the most simplified way possible. And also, I'll be sharing few industry insights of how and why SDV and SDR are crucial in baking the cake of clinical research project. Starting with the source documents. By the term suggests, source means it's the place where everything originates. And always remember, from whichever point the clinical trial data originate is called the source documents. Just remember the name, source, and few of the examples from which the data originates, or as we are discussing baking the cake, is like the recipe of the cake. And for clinical research cake, the recipe, few of the examples are medical charts. For an example, patient's blood pressure is a source document. Lab reports is a source documents because they ensure that how we are progressing. It shows us the graph of our progress report. Patient diaries, as patients write their daily reporting, for an example pain levels. So in this case patient diary is a source. Imaging reports, for an example a radiology report that shows the size of the tumor, is also a source document. There may be many examples of source documents, but if you remember that from where data originates, the source of the data of clinical trials is called the source documents. You'll never forget that. Now let's jump into the second section, STV. STV is called source data verification. As we are understanding the philosophy of clinical project by using the analogy of cake, I could say that once the cake is baked, you check whether you have added the right content of sugar, you have added the right amount of eggs, whether you have done the proper garnishing, adding cherry on the cake. This all cross checking once the cake is baked is called source data verification. In the technical terms, when a project person verifies the source and the EDC system data, whether what is there in the source is exactly entered into the EDC, is called the source data verification. It's the foundation for success in the clinical research project. For an example, if the source data has the person has 70 kg weight, the source data entered into EDC must have exact amount of 70 kg. And when monitor cross checks or when CRC cross checks both of them, there should not be any discrepancy. It's the first step to ensure that the data is reliable for the clinical trial, the journey we are moving forward. Let's move on to the second step, that is SDR, source data review. And continuing the analogy of cake baking, SDR is like understanding whether you have followed the recipe sequence, whether you had preheated the oven, also meticulously checking that the process was absolutely consistent and logical. In technical terms, it's verification of the source documents against the protocol, regulatory requirements, ICH-GCP, and all the study plans. Remember, source data verification is just checking, verifying that data entered into source are exactly matching with the EDC. But in SDR, it's a more meticulous process of reviewing the data, understanding the meaning behind the data, whether they are making sense, whether they are in line with protocol, in line with regulatory expectations, in line with ICH GCP. And this gives the whole holistic understanding of how the project is running, whether we are on the right track in collecting the data, whether we are adhering to the regulatory requirements protocol, whether we are following the letter to the T, following the eligibility criteria, exclusion criteria, are there protocol deviations, are there SAE reported, are there any other issue which needs to be escalated, is there an integrity issue in the protocol, or is there an integrity issue while entering the data or while processing the trial information. Everything which is possible as a bird eye view is called source data review. Now let's understand which is more important, SDV or SDR. In simple terms, both work in tandem, in partnership. SDV ensures that the ingredients are correct, whether we have everything right. And SDR ensures that the process we follow and the recipe we used are absolutely as per the prescribed protocol. SDV asks whether the data point is correct or not, but SDR asks, does this data make sense as a holistic project data? Now let's understand few of the challenges to ensure that we have SDV and SDR in the right amount. Conducting 100% SDV is many of times time consuming. And the solution for that? Industry is now moving towards the risk based SDV. That is not 100% SDV, but the SDV of data which carries the risk, which are identified that they may possess a risk, inherent risk to patient safety or data integrity. And that is why SDV is most important. Second challenge while ensuring the SDV is inconsistent source documentation practices at the sites. Remember, all sites don't have the same uniform process because every site has different individual working on the trial and they have a different practice, different SOPs, different guidelines, different policies, different instructions, different manual. And the solution, as a CRO, as a sponsor, and when there is a monitor on the trial side, they need to ensure that training is provided and the templates, the forms are provided to ensure that whatever they enter into source data, however they do source data verification, whatever they do at the site, are consistent, uniform, and in accordance with the guidelines. The challenge which we are also facing in the industry is many of the times the deadline to ensure STV and STR are bound to have tight timelines. And the solution is to leverage the technology, like ECRF, electronic case report forms to streamline the data verification and review, which removes so much manual labor and increases the efficiency in terms of time and accuracy of verification and data review. Now, few industry insights. Why you as an industry professional or the site personnel or someone who's interested in clinical research should care about SDV and SDR. For you, if you are a researcher, you need to understand that this process is ensure that the project has accuracy and integrity, setting you apart from your career. So, if you are following the processes to the T as per the policies and you are a researcher on this side, then you will get a great recognition for making sure that the project is compliant, having the quality and the expectations of regulatory are being met. For the organizations who conduct the clinical trials, for sites, for CROs, for sponsors, if they follow SDV and SDR, if they leverage the technology, if they utilize the risk based SDV, then they are going to save time, reduce cost, and also ensure that they get the faster, quicker, and hassle free regulatory approvals. I hope by this you have understood the meaning of source data, the recipe of the cake of clinical research project. You have understood the STV, STR. And if you got any help from this video, subscribe to the channel because it helps the algorithm of YouTube and YouTube will recommend it to people who really are confused about these concepts, and let's spread the knowledge together. Don't forget to subscribe the channel so next video when it is up you get notified first. Make sure you comment about this video or any other questions you have, any doubts of clinical research, as my role is to simplify the clinical research for you. That's it for the day. This is Chintan and Pishet, your clinical research mentor, and we'll see you in the next video very, very soon. Thank you.